If you don't have that configuration, you should have at least 8 GB RAM with dual core before you set up Anaconda. If your system have only 4 GB RAM or lesser, and also if your system have only 1 core or 2 cores, I don't recommend to set up Anaconda on your machine. Rather, we have provided enough details to actually set up labs on your account in GCP using Ubuntu based virtual machine. Go through those steps, get $300 credit from GCP, leverage those $300 credit over a period of 1 year, and try to set up the environment and learn using that environment. You should be able to go through the subsequent sections in this course, and you should be able to set up the lab on the GCP with Ubuntu rather than using your system for learning all these courses that are being covered around Python, and also probably using other programming languages at a later point in time. So unless and until you have enough configuration, don't set up Anaconda on your machine. It can be counterproductive. Now let's get into the details about setting up of Anaconda on Windows. Similar steps can be followed on Mac also. I might cover those as part of a separate video. That being said, I'll be using Chrome. Chrome is the default browser which I will be using on my Windows system, and hence I'm actually dragging and dropping into the taskbar so that it is accessible for me from here itself directly. And also I will not be using Internet Explorer, and hence I am actually unpinning from the taskbar. Now it is removed and we got the Chrome here. I will have the Chrome at the beginning. Now I should be able to click on this, and then either using address bar or the default search page of Chrome, which is nothing but Google, we should be able to search for Anaconda. In this case I am using address bar. You can also use this one. Okay, whatever is comfortable with you, you can use that. You can say Anaconda download, and then you should be able to go to downloadable of Anaconda by clicking on this link. Make sure you read the description and go to the appropriate link, and then you can actually click on download here. It will take care of installing the data science toolkit on your Windows machine. You need to understand the platform of your Windows. If it is 64-bit, you have to use 64-bit graphical installer. All the laptops which are 4 GB or greater are typically 64-bit only, and we'll be having 64-bit operating system, and hence we should be using this 64-bit graphical installer. If you are not sure whether your system is 32-bit or 64-bit, what you can do is you can open the file explorer, and then you can actually right click on this PC, then click on properties. You should be able to see the details about your system. You can see my system type is 64-bit operating system on 64 based processor or x64 based processor, which means I am good to go to download this 64-bit graphical installer. I can click on this, and it will take a bit of time based upon the size of the file and your internet speed. Once it is downloaded, we should be able to take care of installation with a few clicks of buttons. Now the download is done. You can directly double click here, but I typically go to the file by expanding this and then by saying show in folder. As part of the downloads, we can see Anaconda 64-bit installer for Windows. We should be able to double click on this, and it will take care of installing Anaconda on this machine. Mine is pretty powerful server, that's why it is fast. If you are using Windows on a low-end system, even download might take time, and also installation will take a bit of time. Let me click on next. In this case, I am installing for all users, and then I'm using the default location. I'm not customizing the location here. Let me say next here. And also I wanted to add Anaconda to the system path environment variable so that I can even use command line options to launch the Anaconda using this environment variable. However, it is saying not recommended. Instead, open Anaconda 3 with the Windows start menu and select Anaconda 64-bit. This add to path option makes Anaconda get found before previously installed software, but may cause problems requiring you to uninstall and reinstall Anaconda. So let's deselect this because it is not recommended. We can actually use this. Register Anaconda 3 at the system Python 3.8. So earlier I have installed Python 3.9. Now I am actually installing Anaconda with Python 3.8. Depending upon the software, they will be compatible with a particular version of Python at the max. In this case, we are installing Anaconda with Python 3.8. So it will actually take care of installing Python 3.8 as well for us. Let's see, this will allow other programs such as Python tools for Visual Studio, PyCharm, Wing IDE, PyDev, and MSI binary packages to automatically detect Anaconda as the primary Python 3.8 on the system. So this is primarily for tools such as PyCharm to identify Anaconda 3 Python version rather than the default version on the system which was installed earlier, which was Python 3.9. So after installing this, we might have Python 3.8 that comes as part of Anaconda 3 and also the Python 3.9 which was installed as part of the previous topic. We should be able to manage both. In some cases, we might have to have both also. Some applications might be developed using Python 3.8. Some applications might have to be developed using Python 3.9, even the earlier versions of Python. As and when it is required, I will cover all those aspects. Don't worry too much about it. We can live with both Python 3.9, which is installed as part of the previous topic, as well as Python 3.8, which will be installed with the installation of Anaconda. If it is running very slow, you can click on Show Details to see the progress. It will give you an idea whether it is progressing at a decent pace or not. For some reason, it is stuck at this step. Probably this might be one of the biggest library that is being installed. We have to wait until the installation is completely done. Also keep in mind that for you, installation might be a bit faster, even a low-end system. But once you start using Anaconda by launching something called as Navigator, which I will be demonstrating in a moment, it will start consuming a lot of resources. If you are just running Anaconda on your Windows machine, probably it might be decent enough. But typically, as part of our development process or learning the modern technologies, we have to have a database, we might have to have a Docker, we might have to have several versions of Python, and you might have to switch between all these things. And if you use your system, it might be quite slow. It can become counterproductive as you start installing more and more softwares on your machine and start using them at the same time. To mitigate this issue, if your system is not powerful enough, I am recommending you to leverage the GCP credit of $300, set up Ubuntu on it, and start using that environment to actually take care of learning. You can have a Docker, you can have whatever database you want on them, and you can take it further. So the installation is almost done. Let's wait until the post-installation steps are also taken care. Then we'll actually go to the next step. Now the installation is successfully done. We have to click on next, and then next, and then finish. As Anaconda is successfully installed, we should be able to search for Anaconda as part of the search bar here. So I'm saying Anaconda here. You can see as part of Anaconda, we get several tools: Anaconda prompt, Navigator, PowerShell prompt, and also Spider. This is the executable which we have downloaded earlier. We can ignore this. You can leverage any of these other things and you should be able to launch those directly. We also have Jupyter here. If you want to launch Jupyter directly from here, you can do so. That being said, I'll be launching Anaconda Navigator. It is nothing but a graphical user interface which will actually show all the components that are supported by Anaconda out of the box. Let's wait until Navigator is launched. Then I will walk you through several components which is available out of the box with Anaconda. You can see the details here. So we have Anaconda prompt here, which can be launched directly from here. There's something called as data lore. I don't know about it. This is the new thing which I am seeing. I will actually explore that at a later point in time. You have IBM Watson Studio Cloud. You have Jupyter Lab. You have Jupyter Notebook, PowerShell prompt. This PowerShell prompt is primarily for Anaconda PowerShell prompt. Also IPython or Qt console, Spider, Glue. This is GlueWiz, not AWS Glue. This is different. Also something called as Orange 3, RStudio, PyCharm, etc. And all these are installables. You can install those things using Anaconda and manage them. But all the other softwares other than Orange 3, GlueWiz, PyCharm, RStudio are already installed and you should be able to launch them directly. If you are planning to learn Python or Python related modules via itversity, typically we demo using Jupyter Lab. You can launch the Jupyter Lab from here. If you are comfortable with Jupyter Notebook, you can even launch Jupyter Notebook and upload our notebooks and practice. But the demos are primarily on Jupyter Lab. To get the similar environment, you have to launch Jupyter Lab. You can click on this. It will be launched under the home directory. It will start a web service using the port number. In this case, the port number is 88889. The default can be 8888. For you, it can be 8888. For me, it is 8889. And by default, it is launched under my home directory on this Windows machine. My home directory is nothing but under this PC in the C drive. It is nothing but users and then this one. This is my home directory and you can see all the folders that are there here, also here, which means the Jupyter based environment is launched using the home directory of my account. Now I should be able to launch Python 3 notebook here. It will be launched by using untitled and you can rename it and you can start learning the Python or Python related courses using the notebook environment. You can also upload the notebooks by clicking on this and choosing the location of the Python notebook in your machine, and then you can actually start executing the Python notebooks directly. As you proceed further and as you get into the topics related to Python at a later point in time, you should be able to upload the Python notebooks and you can actually learn using the Jupyter based environment on your PC if it is powerful enough. Keep in mind that there are some caveats. In my case, I have demonstrated using Jupyter based environment on Linux. In this case, it is Windows. I sometimes go to the console. If you try to go to console by using terminal here on Windows system, it might not work. Let's wait and see if it works. Typically, it doesn't work, saying it is not TTY based and all. Let's see what it says. I think it is not. Actually it have launched. I thought it will not be launched, but it is launched. We should be able to run the commands such as dir, and we should be able to preview the files here. Let's see ls-ltr type of commands work. And these are Linux commands. They are not working. So you should be able to access terminal. In the earlier versions, the terminal doesn't work on Windows, but now they started supporting it via PowerShell. So this is the PowerShell version, which is exposed using our Jupyter Lab environment. Even though you are able to launch this, there is a caveat with respect to the path. When it comes to Linux, the paths start with / and then rest of the folders. Whereas on Windows, they typically start with C drive : / and then the rest of the folders to get to the file. You just need to understand these differences and you should be able to customize the paths and you should be able to execute the notebooks that are provided as part of our courses. So make sure you only set up Anaconda and start using it if you have at least 8 GB RAM and at least 2 cores. If you have only 4 GB RAM, don't set up using Anaconda. It can be counterproductive for you. You can also launch Anaconda from different locations, but I am not going to cover those aspects for now. You can always launch the Anaconda Navigator and launch the Jupyter Lab from here. It will actually start a web server, and the directory will be your home directory based upon the user you use to log in. And then you should be able to access all the folders from there. You cannot access the other folders, but all the folders from your home directory can be accessed using the Jupyter based environment on your Windows based machine once you set up Anaconda and start the Jupyter based environment. That being said, so far we have seen how to set up Python and also Anaconda. Now let's get into the other details. Let me actually go through the content and see what are the future topics which we will be using. As we are done with Anaconda, the next topic is understanding the Python CLI and also Jupyter based notebook, so that you are a bit comfortable with those things to learn Python, and then we'll actually get into the actual content with respect to learning all aspects of Python in subsequent sections and underlying topics.